My biggest issue with stuff like this, at least to me, courage is about doing the right thing, even when there are consequences. And this is doing the right thing where largely the consequences have been removed. The end of fact checking on Facebook. Recently, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced that its platform, including Facebook and Instagram, would stop working with third party fact checkers. Instead, they would use a system similar to X, which allows users to create community notes which offer crowdsourced perspective on controversial ideas. In his statement, Zuckerberg said the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US, adding, we are going to get back to our roots, focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. The company also announced a series of changes to its leadership, including adding UFC CEO Dana White to its board of directors. I will add a footnote to this. This was only said after the results of the election. This was not something that was said before the election. This decision was sat on until the die was cast and he knew the direction, or at least the captain and the direction that he was going to spin the wheel. Your thoughts?
So there are different ways to look at this. One is you can say you can have the cynical look, and you can say Mark Zuckerberg, like any big business leader who's built an empire, wants to be on the right side of any administration, any legislator.
I can understand
And
that.
yeah, and he's going to do whatever he can to keep government off his back because he wants to operate. Now, I doubt that. I know Dana. I love Dana. I think Dana's awesome. But I doubt that Mark needed Dana White. All due respect to Dana White, he's done an incredible job. I don't know that he needed Dana White on his board. I think Dana would probably agree with this. I don't know that he necessarily needed Dana for in a sense where I go, how do I make Facebook more profitable? I'll get Dana White.
No, it's optics.
I think Dana's, it's more than optics. I think Dana is insurance, because I think Mark Zuckerberg is scared shitless of the Trump administration, because he's afraid the Trump administration. And Trump said, if I find out that you somehow interfered in the election or whatever with your coots with the FBI, you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. That's very terrifying to a guy like Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is the person, and he's a very smart guy, but he spent a lot of time in front of a computer. He's not a tough guy. So that's one way to look at it. And very, very smart move, by the way, because he can look at Dana and go, can you get your friend off my back, please? I mean, he's threatening to throw me in jail, and we're friends. And Dana will be like, hey, Donald, do you mind just kind of backing off? Whatever it is. I mean, that's an absolute, I absolutely believe that's the case. And God bless both of them for it. And all due respect to Dana, because Dana's, do you know Dana?
Never met him.
Okay.
I appreciate the UFC though.
Love Dana. I've known Dana a long, long time. Just had a long conversation with him about all this stuff. I'm not saying he said that. I'm not saying Dana said that. I'm just saying it's fun to talk to Dana about everything. So that's one way to look at it. The other thing to look at is this. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg is actually a capitalist. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg is a guy who's intelligent enough to understand how precarious it is when you do have fact checkers, and when so many people get their news from Facebook. Facebook is a source of news for a vast number of people. And he might be a businessman, and he might be looking around at all the other news organizations like MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post that lost half its readership in 4 years and lost $70 million last year and on par to lose that much this year or more. He's looking at how the LA editorial board was fired somewhere, just all of them fired by the owner. He's like, nobody's reading you guys. Then he's looking at the fact that the New York Times, the great New York Times, isn't making money because people are reading their fucking articles. They're making money because of their crossword puzzle. Every news publication, every mainstream media source is in crisis in this country. And if you don't think that could happen to Facebook, believe me, just read the tea leaves, baby. So my guess is Mark Zuckerberg wants to be on the right side of history, and he wants to create a free and fair environment where people can get their news and not worry about it being curated by a bunch of college kids who majored in equality. Okay. And that's what I think is really going on. He might also, because he's running an empire, he may not have known or really been up to par on what the fuck is really going on with all his minders. He may not have known how woke things really were. He may not have known that, but it doesn't work for business. And the third possibility is, and I think did you get your black belt recently?
Yeah.
Black belt. A DevGru guy and a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Neither are that big of a deal. It's proof that retards can do anything.
Hold on, bro. So in a gunfight, I'm losing. And now if you get your hands on me, I'm losing too? Dude, that's a problem for me. Congratulations. I mean, you can impose your will on a man in any arena now.
I guess, but I just stay home. So I don't have to worry.
I feel like you got your black belt in a hurry. How long has it been to live with a black belt instructor?
I mean, it probably helps.
How long did it take you?
5.5 years.
That's very fast, Andy.
Okay.
She might have been grading you on a curve. The point I'm making is this:
she didn't give me my belt. My coach did.
All right, bro, take it easy. I like to just I like to needle you a little. I know that. I just fuck with you. But here's the bottom line: Mark Zuckerberg. This is another possibility. I really believe this is possible. He got in there with a bunch of guys, men he'd never been around before, guys he was probably afraid of, guys he was never really part of. And he had always felt like a nerd. He was into fencing, which is just, all right. But the bottom line,
it's a metaphor for something. I don't know.
I do know that when you fence, they've done studies on fencers. When you put the outfit on and you have the foil, you do produce a lot of estrogen. You can actually grow bitch tits if you do it for long enough. Okay. But now he's doing jujitsu and he's around guys like Volkanovski and all these savages. Okay. It's very hard not to start feeling, and he looks great. He's gotten more muscular, grew his hair out. He's wearing like a necklace. I mean, the dude's got, his neck is thicker. His voice sounds deeper. I was like, this dude's handsome. And maybe that testosterone is running through his veins and he likes it. It feels like he's like, I might be myself. This is really who I am. He's tapping into his innate warrior energy. And that they've actually done studies as men. I think when they give men testosterone, they become more right wing than they do left wing. It's very interesting. There's been some studies. We'd have to look that up, Jesse, but I think there have been some studies on that. So all of this confluence of events may be why he's like, this is not going to work. I can't have minders. It's not good for business. It doesn't resonate with my new psychic structure, my new body that's coursing with testosterone and my new look. So those are all my thoughts. That was a long answer, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, I can see all versions of that being true. My biggest issue with stuff like this, at least to me, courage is about doing the right thing, even when there are consequences. And this is doing the right thing where largely the consequences have been removed under the veil of being courageous. People can define it how they want to. I'm a little bit less impressed with it. I enjoyed his conversation with Joe, but it leads me back to you and your comment saying he wants to be on the right side of history because he was very aware of the pressure that his company was getting to suppress information. And his company is huge. It has a global reach, which the US government, I guess, does as well, but not at a level where people can interface on it as an app. But between Instagram and Facebook, man, I don't have any data on how many users, but it's in the billions. I know that for sure.
I think it's 3 billion.
Yeah. So orders of magnitude, that would be 10x almost larger than the United States. He was aware that information was being suppressed and throttled. And in that, I think it is very easy to draw breadcrumbs that some people not getting access to the information and the educated choices that they could have made probably lost their lives. And until there is an atonement, until there is an atonement for that, my man is never going to end up on the right side of history. He did a really good job on Rogan, I think, of talking about the pressure, but at no point in time did he step up into that breach and own the potential consequences. And that is how somebody does something courageous to me.
I think that's a very good point. But you have to also understand that this in some ways he created Frankenstein. And what I mean by that is that you had Jack Dorsey, you have guys like Mark Zuckerberg, probably a little on the spectrum. They're brilliant. And
Probably.
yeah, right. A little spectrum, right? Which makes them brilliant.
Probably in that.
Right. And the amount of energy and focus and detail oriented brain that you have to create Facebook or something like Twitter. I mean, these are extraordinary people with very different minds. So you got these nerds, for lack of a better word. Look at Bezos. I mean, you ever seen pictures, or Elon Musk? These guys were doing stuff and they just came up with they came up with this technology. Now everybody wants to use it. You don't realize when you're making this stuff, you never signed up for having to then contend with the fact that, military junta is using your app to spread rumors about an ethnic minority that gets the population to go and basically commit a low-grade genocide. It's just like, what? I just have this, I created this technology. What are you talking about? What are you going to do about it? You got to come up with ways to do. We need safety. We need to figure out ways to stop people from governments coming up with crazy stories that get the population riled up to go kill them. What? How do I do that? Who are the Rohingya? Where? What do you mean Myanmar?
There's a difference between that and somebody using a product, right? It's a tool, and it's as effective or as dangerous as the person wielding it. There's a difference between somebody using your tool for a purpose that you wouldn't have intended it for, and bowing to government manipulation when it comes to informing the citizen.
100%. All I'm trying to say is that I think sometimes you're met with new challenges that you could never have foreseen, and you have to kind of deal with them on the fly. And you might deal with them in the wrong way, especially when you've got government and FBI people saying, this is how we're going to do this. We got to do this. There's this laptop and they're going to use it, and we happen to know. And you go, oh, okay. You guys are screaming at me and I've got 15 other things. All right, I guess we'll do that. And then you realize you got snowed. And you got a bunch of people like you and I who are going, this guy's an a-hole and this, that, and the other thing. And if you're Mark Zuckerberg, I can imagine that pissed him right off. There's a good chance that, when you're the CEO of a company and you're dealing with 1,000 other things, you're not that up on the nitty gritty. That shit hits you real fast at the speed of life. And you're just not ready for it. You're getting half information. They're not telling you what's really going on. Everybody's got an agenda and you got to make a decision right away. Man, I think most of us in a position of power, if we were the emperor, would probably... And I have talked to some very powerful people. One of the things I talked to Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was governor of California, and I had voted for him. I said, what was it like? Because I'd read a book about California politics called Boomerang by Michael Lewis. And he said, what I got from it was, he was like, you'd be amazed at how little power I had, how little I knew, how little I could do about, for example, water rights. This is way before the fires. How little I could do about one part of the state didn't have enough water. This part of the state had all the water. Then they weren't using it all. But trying to get that water over there was a political nightmare, because I had to tell my senators to say to their constituents, hey, you're going to have less water, and it could be used against them, and they wouldn't get elected again. So we can't do that. He said, what do I do? He said, just make a speech saying you're going to do it, and then we'll just stall it. That's what happens in government, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that's from his mouth. So I think that there are, when you are at the top of the totem pole, there are challenges and decisions you have to make on the fly, and you're going to be wrong, and you're going to get crushed for it. So I tend to be more sympathetic to the impossible task of having a safety team. Like, that's like, they were talking about how many tweets are out there a day. It was some insane amount, and you're going to comb through all that. Good luck, bro. Good luck. Good luck doing that. I don't envy anybody that. Did they have a political bent? Yes. Were they emphasizing certain things, de-emphasizing other things? Of course. Do I think community notes are a better idea? I actually do. So I think Zuckerberg is right now making the right choice, and that's what matters.
Good morning, everybody. As you know, Change Agents is an Ironclad original, but what you may not know is that for over a decade, Ironclad has worked with brands and individuals to create world-class films, series, podcasts, and ad campaigns. In fact, I've been working with Ironclad for the past few years. I was introduced to them on a project through the Navy SEAL Foundation. I've worked with them on a variety of projects, even up here in Montana, long before they proposed the idea of change agents to me. They're the best in their field. And I say that because there are plenty of people out there looking for the best, looking for the cream of the crop, looking for the top of the triangle. And if you're looking for that, you need to look no further than Ironclad. If you ever need media by way of film, a series, podcasts, or ad campaigns, they have you covered. Do you think that the day of this is slightly off topic, but we're just talking about the way people consume, uptake process and consume information. Do you think that there is any chance for mainstream media to recover, or is it just their day is done?
It's a very good question. What I love about the marketplace is that all of us want to be able to rely on information being accurate,
Yep.
all of us. And the biggest challenge we face is that none of us are orientated around a singular truth. I mean, it used to be when the New York Times reported on something, we at least could take it on face value that that's what happened. Now, they might have interpreted it in a way I didn't agree with. My father would always be like, this left-wing bullshit. But at least he read the New York Times because he knew he was getting a perspective that he couldn't do without. It had to be part of the debate. And I think there are good things about the fact that we live in a world where mainstream media can't get away with, back in the day, if somebody had said, with the Pentagon Papers, if somebody said, we're not bombing Cambodia, you would have had generals with a Substack going, hey, I just got out of the military. I can tell you I was doing this shit. And all of a sudden, what? And then a mainstream publication would pick it up. So it's real hard nowadays to get away with a lie. It really is. Everybody said that the Hunter laptop wasn't true, but then you had too many independent sources going, I got the laptop right here. Somebody gave it to me. I mean, when Steven Crowder got a hold of the Nashville Shooters Manifesto, there's like, we're going to sue you and stuff. Like, yeah, but we got it. And here it is. And Memphis, here we go, baby. So you guys were lying. And this was a trans person, whatever. So it's really hard now to keep a secret. My thing is with AI and with all the different agendas,
Oh, yeah.
like the fires in LA. I don't know if that reservoir was offline or not. I believe it was, but it took me a long time to figure out whether it was or not. It's a lot of politicization of the truth and who's to blame for these fires. Okay. And I do think the marketplace is going to create, and already is, something like the free press with Barry Weiss, with Schellenberger and all these guys that are coming along. There are people that we can actually trust. There are people that are responsive to evidence, and they're not on a team. They just want to get to the truth. Those are the people that are going to make the most money. I really believe that the reason Joe Rogan is so popular is because whether he's right or wrong on something, whether he makes a mistake, all of us know if you listen to him that he's an honest broker, that he's an honest player. He just is, dude. Like when you listen to him, he's doing his best to get to the truth. And whether that's about COVID, whether that's about UFC, whether that's about UFOs, he's trying to get to what's really going on. And
he also admits his mistakes, and he'll tell you where he's had his mind changed and why.
Yes. Very important. And so as long as the mainstream media, like the New York Times, do they recover? I don't think so, man.
I don't think they can evolve fast enough. I just don't think that they can. I think that other platforms have outstripped their velocity, and I don't think that they can catch them anymore.
I agree with you. I really do. I agree with you. And I think, the reason CNN makes money, everybody should know, is yes, there are a lot of their biggest players, advertisers are pharmaceutical companies. They pay well. Here's what happens with all their advertisers. They look at their ratings. And they go, you're getting the same ratings the WNBA is getting, bro.
Which, for people who don't know, they're not good.
They're not good. I think the best they did last year was they lost $40 million. They've never made money. So CNN advertisers are not where they're going to be making their money. They're looking at the numbers. Your podcast gets way more better numbers than CNN, any of their average segments. So guess what happens? The reason CNN's been able to stay in business and MSNBC is because of the cable carriage fees. Cable carriage fees. Those contracts are up in a year. You're going to see a watershed moment. It is very possible in a year that you will see the end of CNBC and CNN. You'll probably definitely see somebody buy it for a fire sale and then just rehash the whole thing. So how can CNN and MSNBC be saved? You can get honest brokers in there who go, hey, we're going to start writing articles. See, what happened with the mainstream media, and you and I know this, is that they were telling us one thing, which is all these people are dying of COVID. And the rest of us living in the real world, we're looking around going, I've traveled this country. I haven't seen that. I know a lot of people. I'm an old man. I don't know anybody who's died, not one. So what are you talking about exactly? You guys keep telling me I'm living in the most racist country in the world. I look around a lot. I look around. I don't see that. I know a lot of white people, a lot, too many. And I don't hear them saying racist stuff. I'm not saying racism isn't a thing, but structural racism, we got to have a talk here. And, all of us are going, I don't know. We've done a pretty good job of Sam Harris one time said, if you look at the major sectors in our economy, let's just take Hollywood, fashion, let's take corporate America, let's take government, especially, and let's take big tech. He said, tell me where it doesn't benefit you to be a person of color or a person of a certain sexual orientation. I would just like to know, does it actually still hurt you? I'm saying just when you're looking for a job, are they gonna turn you away? It's a good question. It's an interesting thing to dilate on, So we've done very well, but if you listen to the news for how long was it? 4 years at least, probably more than that, probably since 2012, really. They were telling you something very different. And all of us were looking around going, I don't see that, man. I just don't. Where they really fucked up is when you were saying that you didn't see that and you were getting de-emphasized and shadow banned. That's where they really fucked up.
Yeah, people will only be pissed on for so long and told that it's rain until they get to the point they're just going to move elsewhere.